Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the LCS studios. We're going to jump into our next matchup soon. But first, I'm here for an interview with a very happy man after yesterday. You can introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Kevin, and I'm the manager of Samurai Jeans.
Yes, I say you're a very happy man because Samurai Jeans did very well yesterday. Did you think that it was going to be that easy for them? Because they didn't have the easiest matchup.
We knew that coming into that game, it would be a hard game for us, but we were well prepared, and it showed.
Absolutely. Can you tell us something about how this team came together? Because they seem to have found each other. It's like they've been playing together for years.
They haven't, but we created this team roughly 2 months ago. Myself, and Cotton X and Freeze were, I think, the first members, and then everybody just came along.
All right. There's a couple of people in your lineup, like a Cotton X and Extinct, who have been in many teams and have always been very good players, but they never seem to have found the right team. So why is this the right team for them?
We created this team with one thing kept in mind. It was synergy. We wanted synergy, and although they had played in different pro teams, per se, they haven't got the right synergy, I think. Right now, we have a team with the right synergy and the right mindset for winning.
And the mindset, of course, strengthened by the fact that they are trying to get into the LCS, which is
the most important thing for them.
Absolutely. So what does it mean to them, for these players who have been trying so long to go pro and live their dream?
They have, and we are very, very fortunate that we're here. And I just think that they think that now is the time to really get,
grab the momentum?
Yeah, momentum going, and also the right, they have the right team now. Before they haven't had the right team, and now they just have the right, everything right, and they will go through, I think.
Yes, really good play from them yesterday, but of course the real task is up ahead. A best of 5 against the Copenhagen Wolves, and frankly the Copenhagen Wolves were a team that none of the challengers teams wanted to meet because they were looking very, very strong. So realistically, how do you think it will go?
Yes, indeed. They are a very good team. We think that it will be a hard matchup, of course, but I think that we have practiced and practiced for this, and now I think we will show that practice will give us the win.
Okay, so I wanted to add, you're of course a manager, you're also a businessman, obviously.
Yeah.
So Young Buck has been stating some stuff on his Facebook, very confident.
Yeah.
Copenhagen Wolves are underdogs, we're not going to drop a game in this tournament. Do you applaud that kind of confidence?
I do. Why not be confident in your own game? I mean, you can't go running scared. I mean, this is a sport based on confidence, and I think all players should have that mentality that they want to go into this game winning. They want to make plays and they want to do good. I don't say that passiveness is bad, but I think we need some confidence in this game. Yeah.
And to each his own, of course. Now, confidence, one of the values. What are other values that you really look for in players you recruit?
I look for mindset, mentality, and also heart for the game. How much do this game mean to you? Like, would you sacrifice everything else to just pursue your dream in League of Legends? Or are you just split up between other things you want to do? All our players are 120% into this. They don't want to do anything else. They want to get pro.
Yes. So assume they get it here. They beat the Wolves. They're in the LCS. Do you have any special plans lined up for them? We
have big plans for them. And of course, we will get them everything they would need. And of course, a big gaming house will be set up in Cologne.
A big gaming house?
For sure.
Jacuzzis there and everything? Or?
You can bet on that.
All right. Now, of course, you've been following the rest of the competition as well. What was your impression of, we've already seen 2 LCS teams go out.
Yeah, it wasn't a shock. I don't think they did what they were supposed to do by any standards. I mean, Giants were so ahead and still threw the game. And also, I think that SNS was just the better team today, much better team.
Okay, so a lot of confidence going into your matchup. So finally, what is the score going to be here? Copenhagen Wolves, Samurai Jeans?
3-0, Samurais.
3-0. The confidence is extended by the manager. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to get into our next matchup. So let's get over to our lovely commentators, D-Man and Quickshot.
Thank you very much, Shock. So the next game of the summer promotion tournament is upon us. Let's check out the brackets and see who is already qualified for the summer LCS split season. So,
Close
I mean,
enough.
well, it's close enough indeed. We can see, of course, the games that did happen, I would say on the Friday, but unfortunately they weren't all on the Friday. They were on the Friday and the Sunday. That was Meet Your Makers, Team Alternate, Sinners Never Sleep, and Samurai and Jeans all qualified through to the next round. Of course, that does mean that Meet Your Makers and Dragon Balls will be coming up after this game. Team Alternate, they got through in an epic 3-2 series from 2-0 down. They managed to make it through. And then Sinners Never Sleep, we just saw in a dominant performance.
Yeah, what a game. First and foremost, Alternate winning 3 games back-to-back, and Sinners Never Sleep winning 3 games back-to-back, but under very, very different circumstances. The way that Sinners played in this particular matchup, it bodes well for them. They demonstrate an ability to play different champions, different compositions, and more importantly, control an LCS team.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. As you can see, of course, it is going to be the Copenhagen Wolves versus the Samurai Jeans. The Copenhagen Wolves, they did finish 5th in the LCS after a strong comeback. Remember, they started the season 0-9, but they did finish off 13-15.
So that's pretty good. That's a 13-for-6 comeback after that initial loss. And that turnaround in the season is one that every single viewer sympathized with. And the underdogs, or the puppies, if you will, of the LCS simply grew from strength to strength. Every single player on their team improved over the course of the season. You can never underestimate the strength of Svenskeren's ganks, the power of Godbro's top lane, and you can never forget about the Tess and Deficio. As a team, they hold a 4.0 KDA, and like any good wolf pack, their team fights are to be feared.
And of course, their opposition, Samurai and Jeans, however, also looked pretty incredible yesterday. And when they took down a Nexus Esports in pretty convincing style.
Yeah, that series, it ended 2-0, and to be honest, Samurai and Jeans just looked to be the strongest out of all of the 8 amateur teams. They displayed an ability to play just phenomenally well in the laning phase. They were patient in the mid game, and they controlled their opponents at all stages of the game. And the team just looks really focused, and they've got their eyes set on joining the LCS. The only thing that stands in the way is the strongest of the remaining LCS teams.
Yeah, it's a problem for them. Honestly, it seems to be the strongest amateur team that we've seen coming through.
Yeah.
And the strongest LCS team that they're facing. So this is really a clash. And honestly, I would probably put your money on Samurai and Jeans, maybe taking down anyone else on the amateur scene, but we'll see how it works out. They have, of course, up against the Copenhagen Wolves. Let's check out that lineup, of course. It is going to be Godbro in that top lane, Svenskeren in the jungle, Bjergsen in that mid lane, the child prodigy, I think it's safe to call him, the Tess, of course, the AD carry. He's found some wings since Bjergsen's joined that team, and Deficio will be alongside him as support.
And of course, over for Samurai and Jeans, Youngbuck up in the top lane. He will be looking to have some more ganks and some assistance from Cottonex, either on Jarvan or Elise. Extinct in the mid lane, and both Freeze and Unlimited as the duo for that team, and we'll see how well they perform.
Well, of course, we can't talk about the Copenhagen Wolves without talking about the huge turnaround that they did have, and that man in the middle. Since he arrived, it really all turned around. It was Bjergsen.
So second highest KDA out of all mid laners, currently 4.7. Third place is sitting on 4. He played less games than both Froggen and Ocelot, but got close to 30 kills more than both of them respectively. His end of the split stats are 132, 56, 131. And we just say he's crazy good on so many champions. He's mechanically sound, he's map aware, his team fights are good. And in my mind, the MVP for the European Spring Split.
Yeah, since he came in, his stats were pretty crazy in comparison to the amount of games that he played.
Correct.
Very, very good player. But of course, we saw the Samurai Engines yesterday. They looked incredibly strong, and their jungler, Cottonex, is a very experienced in the top-level pro scene.
So it's something that we said yesterday in terms of his experience, the teams that he's played for. He's got international experience. He's even played over in the OGN. And yesterday's performances, he was incredibly dominant on Jarvan the 4th and then Elise. On Jarvan, he camped that top lane and just fed a bajillion kills over to Youngbuck. And, you know, we've seen him, he just demonstrated an ability to team fight, to roam, to gank early, to gank late. He landed every skill shot that he needed to. And his early game aggression and his love for Jarvan the 4th is shared by Svenskeren, his opposite number in this game. So we'll see whether or not they're going to be contesting for picks, or they're going to be running into one another in the river.
Yeah, I think they're going to be fighting for that Jarvan pick to start with,
I agree
because
with
that
that
was definitely one of the highly contested guns. But before we get into the next best of 5, let's see how these teams plan to take some very worthy opponents.
I have a lot of respect for the Copenhagen Wolves, and we know we are up against a very, very good opponent. But at the same time, I think the Wolves are quite scared of us as well.
Everyone is saying they are like the best team in the promotion of the amateur teams. We shouldn't be nervous for it, but we should definitely respect them.
We are pretty much stronger than them, but they could be lucky and win a game or two, but we will win the best of 5.
We've seen them play some online tournaments and they've been winning them. But then again, we've been playing against the best in Europe right now, and I think we're ready for it.
We know what kind of champs they play. We just have to avoid them to get the advantage.
Gerson is a pretty good mid laner, but our mid laner is the best in Europe.
We think we are very well prepared, and even though we respect them, we think we can beat them.
So a lot of respect between the two. I
Big
think
words.
our mid laner is the best mid laner, and of course they're going up against Extinct formerly of Curse EU. And I need to set the record straight. Curse EU set one Tails of the Lane, not Eclipse.
Yes.
I keep saying that, but honestly, that event was so mental that both those teams deserve to win it because they both had fantastic performances. Nevertheless, that's a different event, and that was many, many moons ago now as well. But remember, you can, of course, vote for who you think will take victory in the grand finals. Grand finals? This isn't a grand final.
In the play.
Technically, it's a grand final.
I
It's a
suppose
grand
it is.
final for
It's a
both
best
these
of 5,
teams, of
yeah.
course. But get over to lolesports.com. That's where you can cast your vote, whether you think Samurai in Jeans will win or whether you think it will be the Copenhagen Wolves.
Yeah, click on that matches button, go to round 2. Right now, Copenhagen Wolves, 87.7% of the vote to Samurai and Jeans at 12.3. The previous game, still actually public vote felt Against Authority would win that one. So we'll see whether or not this opposite trend will continue. Copenhagen Wolves, the 3rd LCS team with a bullseye on their back. Samurai want to take them down.
That's a massive win percentage vote so far, but of course that's because everybody loves the Copenhagen Wolves. They kind of had the best story, I guess you could have. You know, the fact that they were the biggest losers out there. Dragonborns did take that away from them at the end there. They went 0-13, I believe.
Yes.
So that's another record that they are not happy to hold, let's put it that way. But the Copenhagen Wolves record, it was there for everyone to see at the start of the season, and it was a pretty devastating start for them, but they've come back in such amazing style. That man on your screen there, Godbro, he played absolutely magnificent. His Shen of late and Singed were nigh on unstoppable.
So we'll see whether or not he manages to get either of those champions. They're definitely going to be hotly contested picks. What we do know from the Copenhagen Wolves, Twisted Fate, Shen, they can make use of those globals, and Samurai and Jeans will need to make sure that they deal with it. Yesterday, they were gifted both, and they made great use of it. We'll see whether or not something similar happens today.
So you can see the bans coming in already. It is going to be Elise and Malphite taken out, and Jarvan and Zac. No surprise, pretty standard common bans. It does mean that Twisted Fate is currently available. There goes Shen, and it's actually Copenhagen Wolves that banned that out. Remember, Renekton is available now for Youngbuck as well. That's another one of his picks. So there's a number of different picks here that could go through, go through.
The question here for Samurai and Jeans, ban Twisted Fate, allow Zed to get picked or vice versa. I definitely feel like that's going to be one of the very important things to be happening. If Zed is picked, now the question for Copenhagen Wolves, do they want to lock in the likes of Zed early? Do they want to get a Cinch? Do they even want to get maybe a Varus, which we've seen the test playing over and over and over and having really great effect with? They could even throw us off the loop and go for a Lulu or Zyra and have that safe pick for Deficio.
We'll see. It is Godbro's choice. He's sat there debating it with his team, and actually saw him in that video. First time I've seen him speaking of one of those I keep calling them videos. I mean, it showed me age, don't I?
the build-up.
On the DVD! In fact, it would be Blu-ray these days, wouldn't it? Oh my god, I'm still even old. It should be Twisted Fate. It is going to get locked in, so wow, you know.
So in terms of this, what we do have now is, in terms of reply, you do have the likes of Diana, who can do very well, Kha'Zix. It's a very good lane matchup, but the question is, how do you deal with the global? What is the decision they go for? We seen Extinct yesterday. He ran Karthus in game number 2 and Twisted Fate in game number 1, so he does have that versatility.
Well, we do see Rumble and Thresh getting locked in. The Thresh Prince isn't here, of course. He's going to be in home in Omsk watching on, and really, this is a match that he had a great deal of interest in, a match that he had a great deal to talk about because he thought Samurai and Jeans would get in.
Very, very outspoken right now. And he's
talking about Edward, of course.
Yes, Edward, of course, has been voting for Samurai and Jeans, as if people don't know who the Thresh Prince is by now. And he's very confident that Samurai and Jeans will actually take this series. So at the moment, it does look like that Sona and Varus is being hovered over. It is champions that the Tess has ran 13 times out of his 28 games with 9 victories and a pretty good 4.3 KDA. So he's got very good statistics on that. Just to quickly talk about the numbers, Youngbuck has got a 38 KDA in this summer promotion tournament with that 2-0 stomp from yesterday. I think those are pretty good numbers.
They're pretty good numbers. Extinct with a big smile on his face there. What is he going to be picking up? He's going to be taking either Misfortune or Nautilus for the AD and support, AD and jungler. We could have a Nautilus support, you never know.
Could have a Nautilus support. We've seen it once. Elements missed all the hooks and it didn't work. This will be the first time that we're seeing Freeze playing Misfortune. He played Caitlyn twice yesterday, and it does seem like the amateur teams have been favoring Caitlyn over some of the others. But obviously with a good combo here, if they get some CC in the mid lane, it might work well.
And Creppo, if you're watching, by the way, this is officially Hook City right here. Nautilus and Fresh. Thank you very much.
Just a bit of love, just a bit of love.
A little love for Creppo. He's out there.
The one thing that's quite clear here from Samurai and Jeans is that Unlimited's going to have a lot of pressure on him to set up these engagements. The box is going to be very crucial to getting a good bullet time and a good equalizer. I'm still wondering about who they want to go for the mid lane. And Diana, I feel, is a very good pickup. But we could even see Ari. Ari's a pick that, has been featured so heavily in this weekend's tournaments.
Well, it is, of course, going to be either way. Oh, singed for Godbro in that top lane. He played it so well against Evil Geniuses. And it's going to be Cho'Gath in the jungle. It's another champion that Svenskeren has played a lot of. He could have switched across, remember. That means it's going to be the AP champion. What will Extinct go with here?
So the thing that I like about Cho'Gath in this particular setup, there's so many ways to interrupt Misfortune's bullet time. So when the fight breaks out, he's going to have a number of abilities. You've got the Singed Fling, you have Crescendo, you've got gold cards, you're going to have Rupture, so there's a lot of ways to deal with it. And the very great utility. Svenskeren on Cho is less aggressive than we've seen it on Zinzao Jarvan, but he still works very well.
We will see. He's going to have just a short period of time, 28 seconds. Of course, we did see a Caitlyn randomed the other day by the Wizards.
The Katarina, yeah. Katarina was random. So I definitely feel like Diana or Kha'Zix would be a good choice here. Diana probably more so her Moonfall will be able to pull everybody in and lock them in. If they wanted to go for range, this would be another very good semi-counter to Twisted Fate, can lane push. And this will be the first Xerath of the Summer Promotion Tournament.
Interesting stuff. So long-range champion there, definitely looking to try and lock down Twisted Fate whenever he gets that chance with that stun. And poke from long range. Looks like he may also take a teleport in there as well. He's got to keep track of Bjergsen when he destinies around the map.
So that's going to be an interesting setup because the early level, being able to get the stun down without an ignite, he may not be in, a threat to killing off Bjergsen. So Bjergsen may just decide to farm out the wave. But what you do have is really great wave clear. He's going to be able to use that Arcano Pulse, the Q of Xerath, and just farm, hit every single minion and really push them down, almost at a similar pace to that of Wildcards.
So if you have just joined us, ladies and gentlemen, things are about to get underway. You can see it's Copenhagen Wolves versus the Samurai and Jeans. And this is the first of maybe many, I feel. We did just see a 3-0 this morning from Sinners Never Sleep. Absolute dominant performance, taking out against all authority in very much a one-sided victory. The first two games were not even close. Third one was definitely a lot closer, but still Samurai and Jeans are going to be trying to mimic that performance, see whether they can do exactly that. But it will be upsetting a lot of fans out there because the Copenhagen Wolves have certainly built up a hell of a fan following. Speaking to them just the other week, actually, at the playoffs, they weren't overly confident, I'll give them that. They weren't overly confident. I was talking about the fact that Bjergsen should be streaming a bit more, get his presence known. He's such a popular figure out there that maybe he'd be wise to do that. And it was like, I said, you'll have a month break between LCS, and they said, well, it could be 4.
It could be 4 indeed. It's important. It's great to hear that, though. It's great to see that, even as the Wolves have been prepping for this, they understand what's at stake. They understand exactly how much is on the line, because we've seen 2 LCS teams fall already. And the real question is, have the Wolves got the ability to prevent being the third? We are about to find out. There are a million clicks going down. So I can only imagine that items have been purchased, and we are live.
Yes, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be the blue team. It's Copenhagen Wolves. Samurai and Jeans are going to be the red team. And, well, how will this work out? Twisted Fate as Bjergsen. Xerath in there for Extinct. And, of course, the junglers, Svenskeren, we've seen a number of times on Cho'Gath. Will they go for any level 1 shenanigans? Who knows? We've got Singed in there as well. Joe Miller will be happy with that one. Of course, Godbro's been playing absolutely brilliantly on Singed, so we can maybe see how it's done. We did see a Singed early on in the LCS. Oh, the stun card may be going to come out here. Are they going to maybe try and go for it? Konex is just going to get forced away and kept just out of range the whole step of the way.
Yeah, so no early ability usages there from either of the teams, really. But Copenhagen Wolves are positioned quite aggressively. In terms of their AD carries, the Tess and Freeze on Varus and Misfortune, both running 6% lifesteal. So those lifesteal quints showing heavily in the Summer Promotion Tournament, but Misfortune also has 1% crit. So if she gets a lucky critical hit in lane, expect Freeze and Unlimited just all in.
Yeah, we'll see whether that happens. We do see Samurai and Jeans setting up down at that blue buff area. And you know what? They may be taking this themselves. The jungler is not anywhere near. I was going to say, what are they? They're just simply in defensive formation. Okay, they're going to go back up to the Wolves.
Yeah, so I think they may have considered going up for a push, may have thought about it, but decided to not throw away an early game advantage. We actually seen, it is possible to come back from giving up kills. I believe Alternate actually did it in game 3 or game 4 of yesterday's series, but no risk, no reward in this situation. So nothing ventured, nothing gained, I suppose. Both teams are just setting up, and it looks like we're going to have a standard top, mid, and dual lanes in the bottom as far as the lanes are concerned.
So let's look at that as well. We can see, obviously, the junglers starting off their paths. It's going to be the red buff for both junglers. Svenskeren will get the help of Deficia. This is kind of a standard path we have seen from many of the junglers. So that means it's going to be in the top lane, Singed versus Rumble.
And interestingly there, just on that red buff, Svenskeren used Smite there, so just as a little aside. Singed versus Rumble, probably going to end up being a bit of a farm fest as the Tess is hooked.
The Tess gets hooked straight in. The Flay didn't come out just in time, but the Tess had to burn that flash very early on. Ignite also went down on him, so a couple of summoner spells burnt, but look how low he is on health already.
And he does have Deficio there. Once he hits level 2, he should be able to start healing him up, so we'll see just how quickly they can get to that level 2 in CS. But yeah, if he is backing, that'll be able to pick up maybe a couple of pots and then just return himself back into lane.
Yeah, he had to. I mean, that's probably the best option. He's going to miss out on the CS. It means he's almost certainly going to fall behind in the level as well as the CS. It means he's going to be on that turret the whole time, but that Hail of Arrows should help him out there. Svenskeren is going to be taking out blue buff. Obviously, like you said, he used that Smite earlier on. Didn't need it for that. Back to the top lane.
So top lane, as we were saying, it's going to be a bit of a farm fest, I feel. I think that Singed, especially once he gets closer towards level 6, is going to be able to just sustain through the damage that Rumble's putting down. And once he hits level 6, he's not really in insta-burst level of kills. He should be able to survive through it. So if there is jungle assistance, kills can happen, but if not, I expect it's pretty even. And the Tess is hooked again.
The hook lands again, and well, the Tess being punished here is going to be Extinct that gets ignited, though. He gets pushed back. One more shot. The wildcards come out, but here comes the hook from Konex round the side. Stun card's now going to be ready. Didn't go for it there. He did have Svenskeren getting his back.
So Extinct missing that flash in terms of that 1v1. Bjergsen at level 3, able to put enough damage down to force Extinct out of the lane. So that is going in the Wolves' favor, but this bottom lane, the Tess, 13 CS behind, and Freeze and Unlimited are showing just how unlimited their power is by completely controlling this lane.
And you can see really how close this game may well be, because this has already started off as a very, very tense match. We do see Konex heading up in towards that river, and he's actually no wards to cover his protection here. Rumble may be well forcing him back, a young buck here, but Konex has got him towards that top lane. Godbro is in trouble here.
He does have flash and ghost.
And there's going to be the ghost used. He gets hooked in there. Is he going to have to flash out? He will surely be able to use it. Is he going to go? No! He gets taken down, and that is first blood going to Konex. Now we see the hook once again in the bottom lane. This time it's the Tess being forced away. Svenskeren does come in there with that double buff. Deficio trying to get bullying on towards them, but they haven't backed off yet.
So great play by Samurai and Jeans to secure that first blood in the top lane, and Godbro needed to flash the hook. He needed to get out of range of that dredge line, because that is what sunk him in that lane. Flash was burned by Unlimited on this bottom lane, so if Svenskeren, manages to roll around and gets a Rupture down, they may be able to pick up a kill onto Thresh.
The hooks keep on coming out from Unlimited here. Really, it's been landing on the Tess so many times. The Tess has got to keep that sidestepping going. He's going to try and get that siege minion. He manages to get it. That's going to pull his gold up there, but he's still obviously that CS level will be behind. In the mid lane, of course, it was Bjergsen versus Extinct. We did see the flash and the teleport's already been burnt out here. So Bjergsen with the advantage so far.
So in terms of how the setup has happened, we can see Godbro giving up that first blood. I referenced this yesterday, and I'll bring it up again. When Godbro played against Gambit and he was playing Singed, he was in the duel, or in the bottom lane actually, 1v1 against Alex, if my memory serves. And it didn't go very well for him. It took Godbro a very long time to get into that matchup. So we'll see whether or not the similar situation happens. But the point is, he did get into it, and they actually managed to win that game.
Yeah. Starting to pick up the CS on his arm. And despite the fact that he died, he's actually not that far behind in CS. He still managed to keep in touching distance of Young Buck.
And the reason for that was that when the gank happened, the wave was pushed fairly aggressively against Young Buck. So we had about a wave and a half worth of creeps to deal with. Godbro's actually picking a fight there with Young Buck, and they're trading quite evenly, but with Overheat, that's going to hurt.
Flame Spitter versus the Poison Trail right there. And like you mentioned, it does hurt a little bit. Oh, equalizer getting thrown out there. Look, obviously means Youngbuck's going to be going back to buy in a moment, but just trying to try his luck on Godbro.
So just trying to push that wave as quickly as possible. Make sure Godbro's, stuck in that lane, forced to use more mana and more abilities. He does have that crystalline flask, so the heavy drinking has commenced and will probably continue throughout this game.
Yeah. The heavy drinking's probably commenced for Sinners Never Sleep as well as Alternate last night. They've actually all
past 12.
They actually all travelled back to their gaming house last night after that win.
Wow.
And that was late at night.
A very, very late night indeed.
Yeah. So as it stands, Extinct wiping out those waves. 50 to 56 CS. Bjergsen's already gone back as well. Does have Destiny available now. We'll see whether he starts tracking off anywhere. Looks like he's going to be going for Mercury Treads along with those double Doran's rings. We do see Unlimited and Freeze returning to the lane. Actually, he didn't go away from lane. They just backed off.
So we do see that in this bottom lane, Freeze is now only 12 CS ahead. That number has stayed pretty stagnant. And, credit to the Test and Deficio for at least holding out even after being caught by all those hooks. With Bjergsen in the mid lane, that Null Magic Mantle might even become a Twin Shadows. We've seen him doing that build fairly often in the past and pretty much just relying on those Destiny roaming ganks. So we'll see what he does decide to upgrade it to. And coming up against a Xerath with all of that spell penetration once he locks himself in place, I don't really know how Bjergsen's going to deal with this or itemize against it. It's definitely going to be interesting to see.
The wildcard's been flung out. Expect to see them continuing the poke back and forward. Bjergsen's doing a very good job at avoiding that. Extinct simply, obviously, just trying to clear the wave out, so he's simply avoiding the wave itself. Looks like he's going to go towards the top. Destiny down, going up there. Equalizer does come down with a fling straight away from that one. In the poison trail right now, just needs to pull that stun card. Didn't actually get it, went for the mana card instead. There's going to be the red card. Can't get that yellow card when he needs it. And I'm not too sure whether Bjergsen, yes, Godbro does chase him down, manages to pick up the kill, but he's going to get caught, maybe not.
So a little bit sloppy at the end, but here comes Extinct.
Extinct does go for the stun, gets the ultimate down. He's going to lock him up. One more, two more hits. Konex couldn't get close enough to land the hook, though.
It looks like there may even be a fight in the bottom lane. We'll get a quick glimpse of that. And Godbro, I think someone's going to have to remind him he has Flash, because that's two situations where he could have survived in the first gank. The second one, he calculated and he had enough HP with that Insanity Potion ticking to survive. But nevertheless, Ghost Burn and a kill on the board for Copenhagen Wolves. They take the gold lead back.
Yeah, I mean, that was actually a pretty good close down there. The fact that he didn't have the boots. Youngbuck had now just gone and bought Sorcerer's Shoes. So he's going for the first item, Sorcerer's Shoes. The hook comes on towards Deficio. They're not going to land it, follow it up, though. The pink ward has started, though.
So the pink ward trading back and forth, just replying, trading vision for one another. Extinct and Svenskeren just hanging around here. They're trying to steal this blue buff, but this is going to be a 2-on-2 jungler versus mid laner. And look at the stun.
Bjergsen is going to get caught out here. We did just see Deficio going getting the kill on towards Unlimited in the bottom lane. Or more to the point, we didn't see it, but it happened. Trust me, we saw the kill score. But it is going to be the blue buff steal, and it's actually Svenskeren that takes it, which means Bjergsen will go and take his own.
So well played there. It does look like Crescendo and Chain of Corruption were used, so problem solved for them. That's the second kill of the game. And that is a 700 gold lead. In addition, they stole the blue buff away, which is vitally important against Extinct Xerath. He's built a tier of the goddess right now and no mana regen. So if he does continue spamming his spells, he will eventually start running out of mana.
You see Youngbuck returns towards that top lane, up against Godbro. And straight away, the ultimate has been popped by Godbro, running around with that poison trail going, flings him back in towards it. Quite happy to just stick around a little bit longer. Has been and got boots as well. And Insanity Potion is going to run out, but it's a fairly quick cooldown. Yeah,
it's a relatively short cooldown as far as that's concerned. And of course, with all the movement speed increase it gives you, we may actually see Godbro maybe sitting on those tier 1 boots for a little while. And it's just running around with that poison trail. What is nice is now that both of those champions have hit level 6, unless there is actual gank pressure from Twisted Fate, from Cho, or from Nautilus, there's very little real chance of one another going down. They've both got a lot of potions and a good amount of ability to deal with one another.
Well, the pink ward was used by Godbro in that river. That's bought time for Sven Svenskeren to manage to sneak his way in there. He is going to go in towards Youngbuck right now. See if Youngbuck goes aggressive here.
So Svenskeren does have Feast available, and here comes Bjergsen.
That's going to be the Destiny. Gets the stun card. Rupture comes in as well. Very nicely chained. He's going to get stunned out and flung. This is really well controlled here by the Copenhagen Wolves, and it is Bjergsen that picks up the kill, but Sammer's rise in jeans. Sinners Never Sleeps on my mind right now. did manage to take advantage, and they've gone for the Dragon.
So they should be able to get this one. They've got positional advantage, they have the numbers advantage, and trading a kill for Dragon, again, is something that you're happy to do as a team. It does suck that you're losing your opponents and maybe even the top tower. So this is going to be a trade that, if Copenhagen Wolves can secure it, will obviously be in their favor. But the one thing about that gank that was so impressive to note, Feast was not wasted, and it was just complete control from the Wolves. They knew what they were doing, and they synchronized all of their abilities perfectly.
And that is going to be the first turret of the game going down. The Copenhagen Wolves will pick that one up with the minions beating it down. So, Destiny so far has worked twice. See how successful it is throughout. Of course, there's so many times we do see Twisted Fate players, you know, simply picking up Twisted Fate because they need to take it away from their opposition and not really using that Destiny to its full control. So far, Bjergsen has kind of done that.
Yeah, you need to be able to secure kills and combo with the rest of your team. Right now, Godbro and Sven, they're sitting in this top lane. There's no Destiny, but Youngbuck's going to find trouble.
Oh, the Rupture, he sort of stepped in there and avoided it very quickly. He's going to get the fling in there in a moment. You can see, no, didn't go for it, didn't quite catch him.
Just stayed out of range. He's not able to, stick up, quite as close as he needs to. The hook has caught the test.
The hook catches on the test. There's going to be the bullet time for locking it straight through. Does manage to get the stun down. Deficio has to use it. Chain of Corruption comes out from the test. Are they going to turn the killer back around on towards Unlimited? No. Everybody low. Here comes Bjergsen, doesn't have
Destiny.
He was heading down there. He's like, I want to go. Oh,
not going to be able to set it up. So Extinct did have teleport, decided not to use that one. He could have if he wanted to, and maybe with that immense range of that Arcane Barrage. What we do say, though, with all of that pressure, that CS advantage is growing for Freeze. It was 30 at one point. And right now, I think it's still the same, if my math is correct. They're going to apply pressure on this bottom lane turrets.
Yeah, of course, that was all about that pressure early on in that lane that
Look
was
at Bjergsen in the river.
put onto the test. Yeah, Bjergsen is coming down. There's Destiny. It's going to be Unlimited. They're going to try and secure that kill. They do have managed to get in there. Actually, the hook on towards Svenskeren. Here comes Extinct. Locks him straight down there. Turns around, gets the Rupture down and the silence across the team. There's going to be the hail of arrows coming in. Bjergsen backing on towards it. Extinct does take down Svenskeren. And that is going to be the rest of Samurai Jeans backing away. Wildcard has been locked in, but Bjergsen can't get close enough. Didn't want to go flashing in towards Unlimited.
So a very good silence coming out from Svenskeren, managed to at least interrupt the damage that Extinct was putting down, but because he took so much burst from that Arcane Barrage, he was eventually killed off with our very last ability. May have been that Arcane Pulse. Regardless, 3-2 in terms of kills. Good reactions from both of the mid laners, both Extinct and Bjergsen responding and immediately going down, but Teleport is down, and Extinct is going to be waiting for that cooldown for quite a while.
Godbro and Youngbuck continue to just run around holding hands with each other. Meanwhile, in this bottom lane, it is going to be Samurai Jeans. They want to push to try and get this turret down. They don't really have a creep wave yet. They're going to wipe that wave out the moment it's at the turret. They're not even going to let it get near the minions, so they're going to have a strongest minion lane they can to try and get some damage down on this, their first turret.
So they should be able to get a fair amount of damage, and if Svenskeren can clear the wave relatively quickly, he should be able to save it. There is the Rupture. He's actually trying to interrupt the champions more than just focusing down the minions. Now, we do see that the Tess has joined the party, and he's almost got Chain of Corruption.
There's the hook, but it's not going to be followed up on. They do have a pink ward in there. Konex just, isn't that anchor just hanging around and waving as he slides through the Rupture.
Spider Nautilus escaping with style there, pulling himself onto the terrain, but he does get away safely, and a very good play coming out of both of these teams, but very crucially, that tower is still alive for the Copenhagen Wolves. So Twisted Fate passive and having that tower in advantage maintains that goal lead for them.
My worry here is for Samurai Jeans is the fact that Godbro is basically now got that Rod of Ages completed and just completely free farming. It's starting to free farm off there. I wouldn't say free farming. He's obviously up against Youngbuck, but there's definitely an issue starting to build there because we know how strong he's going to get on Singed later on.
Yeah, and it's one of the things when you look at the lineup, to have all of that protection from Singed, from Cho'Gath, to cover and protect the Tess and Bjergsen, it's definitely going to play into their favor. Right now, you can see Bjergsen and Svenskeren, they're grouped up in and around the blue buff area, and they were thinking about going for the steal. Remember, they stole the second time that this blue buff spawned. Instead, they're just going to group up and maybe go for a 5-man middle push.
I thought about trying to get the steal in, but Svenskeren was a little bit too late, and Extinct once again has that. He has to have that blue buff on as well. They are going to get 5-man on the way. The Equalizer goes down to try and clear out that wave and does manage to defend it off there, but there was 2 ultimates used to try and keep them away from that turret.
So they're happy about that one. The ultimate from Xerath is not the end of the world. He does have blue buff on, and it is a level 2 ultimate, but Destiny on the bottom lane.
Destiny going down there. He manages to catch on towards Freeze. The wildcards come out, but Freeze is going to try and turn back around in this one. Bjergsen doesn't have. He actually has the Twin Shadows, who'd already used there. Does get another stun card and a wild card, but he's not doing enough damage. Deficio is going to come in. They may be able to finish this one off. Another lockout comes in. Is he going to get the lantern? No! Deficio comes in and gets the kill secure with the crescendo.
Very, very importantly, the Copenhagen Wolves did not use any summoner spells there. No flashes, no ignites. It was just a combination of ultimates and regular abilities. It does suck a little bit that the money went to Deficio, but he's going to be able to pick himself up a Philosopher's Stone with that money most likely, and obviously work towards that Ruby Sight Stone even quicker.
Mo money, mo doubt, that's the question. Look at this, Extinct is just going to back off. He's keeping that CS going, and Svenska has been doing a pretty good job at cutting him out in the middle. And look at the difference between Svenska right now and Konex.
So right now, in terms of the numbers, it's 83 to 59, in addition to that tower, which has just been evened up. So that's definitely...
That's only a 200 gold difference, though, because he got that kill and assist.
That's exactly the difference. That, you know, plus 300, 400 gold that's sitting in Kotenex's back pocket is always going to benefit him. Right now, though, the Wolves have been able to shove down this middle lane.
Yes, this is going to be the second turret of the game for the Copenhagen Wolves. It is 2-1 in turrets, now 4-2 in kills. Top lane, they continue to just go back and forward. It's Godbro up there still, and of course this time around it was Freeze that was trying to clear out that lane, but Godbro, he's not giving up. He wants to stick around there. He's loving that top lane.
Godbro will be doing that the entire game until his team says group with us and push. That is exactly how he plays his Siege, and it's what we've seen him do many times during the splits. You were talking about Freeze, and in that little engagement, he actually popped Cleanse before the gold card even hit, so he wasted the summoner spell without getting rid of the stun, so that obviously didn't work into his favor. Right now, though, Dragon has respawned, and this is a 5-man Samurai in jeans grouping up against a 5-man Copenhagen Wolves. A very big fight could happen, and there isn't a big enough gold difference to say who is a clear victor in the situation.
Yeah, this is all about the engage. Bjergsen's gone back to buy, which means he's going to pick up that Sheen, heading towards the Lich Bane. The Copenhagen Wolves are going to use the opportunity and say, right, we'll just shove a wave in that mid lane. And look at that, Samurai and Jeans are responding because they think they may be turned in there. They didn't really have a great deal of vision of that. They have got that one ward in the mid lane, but he hasn't got clear vision of the entire lane. Now they see the Copenhagen Wolves at the Dragon. They're all going to come back.
And it's a great ward that they've got in that Dragon pit that will give them full vision of when this Dragon is, you know, happening. Everybody has their ultimates available, and it's literally just this standoff right now as both teams waiting to see what the other team does. Now remember that Samurai and Jeans will have been able to review the Copenhagen Wolves games and see how do they handle Dragon fights, who do they wait to engage from, and they're certainly going to be sure that it will be Godbro and Bjergsen starting off the plays. So keep an eye on the two of them as this progresses.
Yeah, and it's Godbro going to be shoving up. Maybe they're thinking we can take this turret down. It's got a lot of hit points, so. And that 4-man defensive unit of Samurai and Jeans. There's 4 Samurais ready and waiting on that turret. You can't push it.
No, not at all. They've got really good wave clear with the Riptide from Nautilus, with, you know, Make It Rain coming out of Misfortune and Flame Spitter. It's fairly short range abilities with the exception of Xerath, so something that will be a little difficult for them to deal with is when they need to wave clear under a turret, they actually have to be sort of standing next to the turret or in front of it, as opposed to the likes of Twisted Fate and Varus, who can fire off their skill shots from the safety of behind the turret.
Xerath going straight up top to head off the push from Bjergsen. Bjergsen's going to get some damage down on that turret, while the rest of the 4-men, both Samurai and Jeans and the Copenhagen Wolves, do shove in the mid lane. Extinct quickly wave clearing and stopping Bjergsen in his path. And now Wolves are going to try and rotate around. They've realised they've pulled Extinct up there. Of course, he has got teleport available. Would have been the ideal person to go up there. And again, without that pink ward, without anything to clear out in that river, they're not feeling confident.
So something that you're seeing now from both of these teams is they're not forcing the engagement because they're not comfortable with the situation. They're not 100% sure that they could win the fight or could take the objective cleanly. So instead of forcing it and making a mistake, they're playing it safe. And this little dance is going back and forth. And like you said, without that pink ward, without vision control, without an oracle, the risk is simply too great. You don't want to feed 3 or 4 kills and a dragon to your opponents.
Which means Samurai and Jeans are going to have this standoff. I wonder what would happen if they were wearing different clothes. Maybe they'd be a bit more fluid, a bit more flexible.
It's definitely a possibility.
The best things
you know,
to be
comfy
finding.
pants or tracksuit pants, you know, they're definitely great for mobility and something that I personally find extremely great in any situation or setting. And we'll see whether or not the jeans are the correct attire for this setup. Right now, Copenhagen Wolves, 5-man, they've just pushed into the Dragon Pit, but is that ward in terms of the right-hand side of the river. So Samurai and Jeans are aware. The hook flies out and misses completely.
Good, quick, speedy kill there for the Copenhagen Wolves. That's going to take their gold advantage to just shy of 3,000. The blue buff, of course, it is being picked up here. Extinct is not going to be able to get it. Or is he going to be able to hold it on for a little bit longer? No, Freeze is just going to secure it.
So they were afraid of an invade. They were afraid of the 5-man Wolves trying to roam up there and steal that objective, so they decided to keep it. And you notice that on that Dragon, that Svenskeren used Feast as well as Smite. So really going to be difficult to smite or steal anything away from that amount of true damage. The hook flies out and a good flash from Svenskeren to avoid it.
Yeah, the stun was in there. There's going to be Bjergsen pushing down that bottom lane. So it's a 4v5 currently in the mid lane. Samurai and Jeans, they have that number advantage. They're going to see if they can keep on going. Teleport is available for Extinct if he needs to go back, but they are going to surely get this middle turret.
So we see at the moment that the Copenhagen Wolves, they're trying to use that range of Cho'Gath and Varus to defend a turret with only 4 members. I think this was part of the game plan. Now, Destiny has been used. The question is, where will Bjergsen go? Cotnex is a little bit of a straggler. Is he going to jump in on him?
No, he's just going to zip away.
Oh,
yeah.
A sigh from everybody watching as we're expecting another fight. But nevertheless, one of the really good pickups about this Cho'Gath is when they do have those 4v5 setups, with a good Rupture and Feral Scream, you can either clear the wave or you can lock champions up, giving your team that advantage in the 4v5 situation.
Looks like the Ryler's Crystal Staff may be the next item for Godbros. He looks for a little bit of hit points. Let's have a look across the items. We can see the Lichbane has just been completed by Bjergsen, so that split push is working well in his favor. He's now ahead in CS over Extinct, 189 to 170. The 80 carries have kept that around about 15 to 20 CS difference throughout the game. Of course, that was all built up by the hook that came out from Unlimited at level 1 on the test. Meanwhile, you can see the 2 supports that we've not really been focusing on, apparently. 1,000 gold difference there, and his Deficio, of course, he has picked up and secured those 2 kills with his Crescendo. In this top lane, you can see it's a 500 gold advantage for the Godbros. So really just evenly spread across the board. No crazy advantages. The main biggest one is Bjergsen with 1,200 over Extinct.
Yeah, and it's something that you're going to see the Copenhagen Wolves pulling further and further ahead of. These small advantages becoming bigger and bigger thanks to that +2 gold per minion from Twisted Fate. In terms of the supports, that 1,000 gold into Deficio is actually pretty important because Sona is really squishy. So he's managed to get that Ruby Sightstone, got himself another Ruby Crystal as well as that Philosopher's Stone. So he's a good, Crystal and Philo Stone ahead of his opponent. And we've seen pretty good plays from both of them, actually. Unlimited has had some very good hooks, and Deficio's Crescendo, where he saved the test very early on. He waited for Freeze's misfortune to be in lane before he landed it. Now, Bjergsen and Extinct, they know one another's there. And look at the stun!
Wow, he was ready and waiting to go on that one. He does manage to land his full ulti combo, but Bjergsen does get away with that. There's Mercury Treads helping him out. He avoids it and sticks around. He's got the confidence to say, yep, that's all you got. So I'm just going to stay here.
All of that movement speed from the Lichbane, from the Twin Shadows, and from the Mercury Treads are going to help him run away. And the magic resist that they give you is obviously going to play into his favor. So that helped him survive. If Extinct had maybe had Ignite and had flashed forward, he may have actually been able to pick up a kill there.
But he didn't. So more importantly, it was Bjergsen that walked away. That still means it's a 3,000 gold difference. Still very close between these two. Deficio has his walking dino defender in the form of Svenskeren. Godbro, he's not afraid of Young Buck. He's just going to come around and throw some poison at him. Flames versus poison. I wonder which one's going to win here. It's going to be a bit of poison.
It'll depend on the type of poison, I imagine, because fires can kill it. But at the moment, though, with the CS advantage and that Rod of Ages, it's going to be a pretty boring fight. Even though Young Buck has got that magic penetration from the Haunting Guys, he's got a fair amount of magic resist from the Abyssal Scepter, so they're not really in a big threat of killing one another. Right now, Godbro is pretty much just trying to draw attention, and if he can hold 2 members of the Samurai and Jeans in this top lane, it's going to allow the rest of his lanes to push. Look at middle, look at bottom. The Wolves are just playing the map game right now.
Godbro's even maybe going to try and steal away. Yes, he does. He gets the golems as well, so not only is he keeping 2 members there, he's taking all their gold in the same process. Samurai Jeans had to rotate a little bit. Konex coming in towards this middle lane. Well, he does keep them busy in the top. Deficio is looking at maybe going in there, but no, he's going to back off. Bjergsen's just been back to buy, so we'll see whether he comes up there. Did throw his Twin Shadows out towards Extinct just before he left. This time he's got his home guard boots on.
So he's going to be able to at least run out of their base at a massive pace. That's something that we've seen him doing many times over the course of the split. Bjergsen has, of course, played Twisted Fate a good number of times and to great effect. And remember how he decimated the Giants roster, if I recall correctly, Dragonborns actually, in week 9. But it's just a split push game right now. Copenhagen Wolves, they don't really want to take a straight up 5v5 team fight. Bjergsen's caught!
This time he is going to get caught out, but he throws out the stun card and the wild card and puts down a fair bit of damage himself there. And once again, he escapes, but Extinct is getting very close to 100-0 in there.
On the same token, Bjergsen's getting close to 100-0ing Extinct. That was one wild card as well as pick a card. If he manages to get the stacked deck auto attack proc plus Lichbane in there as well, that may actually be enough damage to kill Extinct when you add it all up. So we're going to have to definitely keep a close eye on it. But what we do see is Extinct is actually making the plays on Bjergsen. Extinct is catching Bjergsen out and almost killing him. So a little bit more ability power, maybe may just be what the doctor has ordered.
Lurking in the bush. Now he's going to have the blue buff. That's going to help him out a great deal if you can keep hold of it for that extended period of time. Dragon will be up in 12 seconds. They don't really have the timer on it. They did have a ward down there, but now they finally put it out. And you see, looks like the Copenhagen Wolves are all heading that way. Bjergsen is not going to be in that situation, no, but it does mean Youngberg's going to have to be kept busy in this top lane.
So Bjergsen's got the ability to obviously join with Destiny. He's got a lot of movement speed, so he can clear the space very, very quickly. Now the Copenhagen Wolves are applying vision and getting wards all over the Dragon Pit. And with Deficio having Oracle's Elixir, it's obviously going to mean that they have vision superiority. They've already pulled the Dragon, but they've decided to back away from it. And the Wolves look like they're setting up a gank. Here comes Bjergsen!
Chain of Corruption lands on towards the Limited. He flashes out just at the right time. There's going to be Hail of Arrows and the stun card finished off with a piercing shot straight away there. Oh, the Godbro is going to flash in there on towards Extinct. He's going to get locked up by the Crescendo, and he gets taken down. That's a 2-for-0 to the Copenhagen Wolves.
What a great play coming out there. The Wolves made the call, go, attack, fight, and they managed to pull that off. They caught out Unlimited. They had to use a lot of abilities, a lot of summoner spells, but at the end of the day, both the kills are picked up and the Dragon, and they extend that gold lead to a 5,000 gold lead right now. It's all at the Copenhagen Wolves' pace, and it's at their tempo.
It's interesting, we talked about a few times during the season of the LCS, the most improved players, and you know, we talked about the likes of Svenskeren and Deficio in there as well, because they both really have picked up their game since them qualifiers in Warsaw.
Yeah, there's no other way to say it. Svenskeren is a player not only from Warsaw, if you think back to last year, where he would either win a game in fantastic fashion or throw himself in situations where he'd feed kills. And now he's just become so reliable on a number of champions. We think of how scary his Jarvan is, and he's demonstrating his Cho'Gath. I've always liked Svenskeren's Cho'Gath from the very early weeks when he was playing it in the LCS.
Yeah, so we are seeing Samurai G's trying to counter here. They have a 3-man push in this mid lane, but I don't think they're going to quite get in there. It's a 4-man push, in fact. Well, they're going to keep on going. Copenhagen Wolves quickly reacted, and they're straight back in there.
So teleport is available for Extinct if he does want to jump into a fight. And when we do have Copenhagen Wolves grouped up as a 4 or a 5-man unit like this, the initiating power comes from Godbro entirely. The call from Copenhagen Wolves from either Bjergsen or Deficio is go. Fling somebody, and they rely on Godbro to pick that one up. I've spoken to them about this with regards to Godbro because he's a fairly quiet player. And Bjergsen's like, yeah, we pretty much say we want that one. And he runs in there with Cinch and says, there you go, have him.
Yeah, I believe it's Tess that actually makes the calls, though, isn't it?
So it depends on the situation and specifically the champs, but
right.
When Bjergsen is specifically on Twisted Fate, he then says, I can see you've got your summoner spells, I can see I've got Destiny, and I want you to throw somebody at me. Pretty much, yeah.
Fling a body my way, please. But let's not discount the Samurai Jeans. They were looking incredible yesterday. It is only 6-2, but it is a 6,000 gold advantage, and I wouldn't expect an LCS team to give that up quite so easily, but we could say the same vein yesterday for Giants against Alternate.
Yeah, it definitely happens, and you can see Extinct, he doesn't have Flash available. If Unlimited gets a good hook, then Bjergsen was maybe going to be in trouble. And what we haven't seen from Extinct is him laying the smackdown on the Tess or Deficio. He's got a lot of damage and ability power in terms of this penetration with the Void Staff and with his inherent abilities. And if he gets on the Tess, he will be able to 100-0 that Varus.
Freeze is being kept busy by Godbro. He's putting work on this turret. We've already seen Bjergsen putting damage on there, and that turret is very close to going down now. Just a couple more hits from either Godbro or anyone, honestly, that comes around there should be enough. But the fact that Freeze is here means the rest of the Copenhagen Wolves are stacking for that mid lane.
So you'll see the numbers there. That is going to be a 4v4 by Time Misfortune with a strut rolls over there. And in terms of itemization, those distortion boots for Godbro really going to be playing work with his Ghost and Flash summoner spells. He's not afraid of this at all. He wants to keep split pushing, and the rest of his team have the ability to control team fights with their great range and their great disengage.
And they are all now coming over and heading that way. They want to help out. It's going to be Bjergsen coming in towards that turret. Are they going to have enough to maybe go on towards Freeze? They're going to have to give this one up. There's the first turret of the inner turrets going down, and that is now 4-2 the Copenhagen Wolves in terms of turrets.
And the gold lead just keeps sneaking up ever so slightly, ever so gradually. The Samurai and Jeans are farming very, relatively well if you look at the numbers across the board, but the fact that they haven't made any plays for big objectives, they've lost, I think, the last 2 Dragons. They've caught Sven.
They managed to catch him down. Will they lock him up, though? No, they didn't quite get the stuns down. Bjergsen is going to have the Unorthodox onto it, bombing him towards him. There's going to be the crescendo straight across, but it is Bjergsen who picks up that kill. Will he be a second? No, Godbro gets that one with the poison. There's going to be the equalizer, but honestly, it might not be enough. Deficio does go down to Extinct's long range, but that was a 2-for-1 to the Wolves.
So very well played, and remember that was the Wolves getting caught out. They were the ones that Sven Skjern was in a fairly bad position. He manages to get away with his life, and he does it with flash available. Bjergsen's been stunned.
He comes around there, stuns it up. Oh, the rupture comes in. Godbro gets the kill with a flip, and now he's on towards Youngblood, trying to put that poison train down there. Bjergsen comes back in, throws out the wildcards, does land it, and it does look like it's going to be another inner turret possibly being picked up by the Wolves here, keeping the pressure on.
The Tess and Freeze have been untouched, and look at that, another rupture from Sven Skjern. The beginning of that fight, after he was hooked, he threw the rupture down and knocked up Freeze immediately. Now, Freeze was able to reposition and get a good bullet time off, but at the end of that, a 3-for-1 exchange and a tower. Copenhagen Wolves now have an 8,000 gold lead.
It was a big swing for them. That was going to be a confident swing, I feel. Now the fact they know they can siege and push on towards it. Look at the gold differential there. It was 2,000 now for Godbro stacking up. And look at the items that it's popping into. keep it. Sorry.
So many monies, so many monies. Yeah, but look at the items that have been picked up. Randian's Oven is getting closer and closer to being completed there for Singed. And of course, the Runic Bulwark has been finished off, plus another Ruby Crystal and those Boots of Mobility for Sven Skjern. And a Zonya's Hourglass finished up for Bjergsen's Twisted Fate.
Well, we can see Randian's Zoma will be almost complete. The fact that Leandros now is on Young Buck, he's been kept very quiet in this game. As Young Buck on Rumble, not his usual self. If you think back to how he was on Shen, he was 8-0-11, I think, by the end of the first game. Ooh, even Deficio is maybe trying to get in and steal that blue buff. We do see the rest of the team coming in now. Copenhagen Wolves, there is going to be Bjergsen coming in. Where is he going to go? Simply using that Destiny to get full vision. He is coming in towards that blue buff. And you're going to see Godbro. Well, you don't want to hook him in. He's absolutely the worst one. And look at that. The hook and the flip, reverse flip, threw him the wrong way there. But now he's going to run around with that poison trail. The flay from Unlimited is available. There's going to be Bjergsen getting caught out. He's going to get pulled in. He may go down. Yes, he does. Extinct manages to pick up that kill. It's a great bullet time as well. This is a really good turnaround by Samurais in Jeans. They pick up a double kill. Can they get on towards the Godbro? No, the glue comes out and it slows the whole team down. But that was a 2-for-0. Very good fight by Samurai in Jeans.
Yeah, very, very good indeed. Copenhagen should not have continued chasing. Bjergsen was out of position. He popped his Zonya Hourglass probably very early in that particular fight, and then was just set up for the dredge line from Nautilus, of course, just to pull him in. Cotton-X managing to land that one. And part of the reason that Youngbuck has been very quiet, as we said in this game, is the fact that he's got no CC to get a good equalizer down. Right now, the members of Samurai and Jeans are making a play. They are very far behind in terms of gold, and when they pick this Baron up, which they will, this will obviously balance out those numbers somewhat and give them a pretty even footing for the next team fights.
Yeah, very good counter, of course. It does mean they are still going to be around about 7,000, 8,000 gold behind, but of course, the fact that they have that Baron buff kind of equates and kills that gap off completely. They're going to push it towards the top lane as well. That'll be another turret picked up by them. So this is a very, very good counter. The fact they got that, won that one fight 2-0, they immediately push, take objectives.
Yeah, it's going to play into their favor. It's going to give them a very good confidence boost, because as this game was getting further and further, it started to look like it was just going to be a slow grind for the Copenhagen Wolves to pick up a victory in this best of 5, but it's going to give them some, this breath of fresh air. Very importantly, a Guardian Angel has just been completed by the test, so we're starting to see these pretty familiar 2 aggressive items, 1 defensive item builds from many of our AD carries.
Yeah, we're also seeing Einlocket Solari for Deficio there, so he's gone for the shielding. Interesting the fact that he's gone towards that rather than Sven Skjern. Tends to be him. Bjergsen going to be clearing out those wolves. Got that Lich Bane, of course, completed a while ago. Zonya's Hourglass was used a little bit too early in that last fight. Is back available. And of course, he has those twin shadows in there. Looks like he's going to be building up possibly towards a Void Staff maybe next.
So those 2 kills, 4 assists, and all of the global objectives that Deficio's got, he is 2 full items ahead of his opponent. That Locket and that Philo Stone have been, Philo's been ticking over for a very, very long time. There's twin shadows coming up. Bjergsen just using them to scout more than anything else. Unsure of where his opponents were. Doesn't really want to split push without being comfortable, and you can see the lack of vision in and around that Dragon Pit. So right now, the Wolves members are starting to stack up. Shouldn't be too much longer. No, Dragon was actually just taken a moment ago, so even though Baron was taken by Samurai, it'll be a good couple of minutes before the Dragon is back up. The Samurai and Jeans will pretty much just be getting vision and timing on that.
Yeah, it was taken exactly the same time, so the Baron buff is what they're waiting on right now, and it's got about 2.5 minutes left on it right now. You can see the time age. Each quarter's just a minute, so it's easier to tell how long is left on that Baron buff. Freeze is clearing out that mid lane. They're not going to shove straight through because they do know Extinct that is in that bottom lane. And, well, Bjergsen is keeping them busy, and they'll be happy to see Samurai and Jeans just using this Baron time and sitting out here. There's going to be Destiny, and he's just using it to go to middle.
So he was a little bit afraid that there was going to be a push from Samurai and Jeans, I feel, either onto him or onto the lane. And at the end of the day, he popped that Destiny just to see where everybody was and react. So he gets away safely. He's also just picked himself up a Void Staff as well. So the damage that Bjergsen can now put out will be very, very high. I do feel that Extinct has much, slightly better AoE with that Arcane Barrage that he can just melt an entire team. So positioning for the test will be very key.
Let's have a look across some of the levels. I'm just seeing, you can see Godbro's got a slight advantage there. It's 2-level advantage for the junglers Van Skeren right now over Kotex. Extinct is both a level 18 along with Bjergsen. He's got a lot of damage as well. I need to point that out, the fact that he has got that Seraph's Embrace Void Staff he had early on. Morella Nomicon early on. I don't know why I still have problems with that one. These large rod as well picked up. That's going to be turned into a Rabadon's Death Cap. We do see the Rupture landing on towards Kotex there, but they didn't follow through on that one. Godbro's like, do you want this one? No,
we'll take a look at this. Extinct has started his ultimate off. Probably going to use it just to zone. He's used one charge. I believe he's still got 2 remaining.
Well, he does. He's going to have to use them pretty quickly, and he lands them to good effect on towards Deficio. That may well force him away from this fight. Remember, the Baron buff is still up. Not for too much longer, though. Those wildcards are going to do damage, but again, the poke coming out from Extinct, it may be enough to keep him away. Hail of Arrows coming out, they're just trying to take down those minions. Rupture comes on towards a wildcard being thrown through it, but it is going to be Samurai and Jeans to pick up another turret there. Can they land the hook? Yes, they do. They get on towards Godbro, and they put a good chunk of damage down on him. They get the stun on there as well, just perfectly timed, actually, on top of the equalizer. Is they going to have enough to follow him off? No, they're not, but they do manage to clear out and push in there. That's another turret down. They're 5-4 in turrets now. They are closing that gold gap.
Copenhagen Wolves are showing that they do not want to fight with a team that has Baron. The Baron has just worn off, and now they do not have the Insanity Potion and Flash. Will the Wolves go in? We do see there's the hook.
The hook lands and perfectly timed. The Misfortune, but bullet time goes straight across them there. That was a 2-for-2, or 1-for-1, sorry, going straight down. Now they're going to get in there. Copenhagen Wolves are all very low, but they do manage to shut down Extinct. Now they're going to chase on towards Youngbuck. Godbro very low, but Freeze gets flung straight in towards the chasing pack, and it's going to be now Youngbuck that's going to get caught, but he only pulled the blue card. He's going to throw out the wild card. That does manage to pick up the kill. Now it's Unlimited. They're chasing down. The Test does manage to get the Hail of Arrows. He's going to turn around, lash back on towards him, but he's going to have those Hail of Arrows back available in just a moment. Will Unlimited go for the hook? He's going to flash through. Flashes very nicely and escapes the damage, but you can see the Wolves, they're rushing straight at the mid.
Yeah, the rest of the team, they're trying to push this inhibitor turret down, and with Bjergsen, with that Hourglass, with the Lich Bane, he is going to do a lot of damage to this tower, so they will get it, and they will get this inhibitor, especially once the test gets here. We'll probably see the team rolling around to the top lane as well. There are minions there, and they may be able to pick themselves up yet another tower. A very good turnaround, and as soon as the Baron wore off, that was the go signal. That was the it's now time to fight.
It was still a very tight fight, though. Just a couple of stuns in the wrong place at the wrong time could have turned that around, and very, very tight game still between these two, but again, the gold swing goes back in the favor of Copenhagen Wolves. Just as they were looking to defend off their inhibitor, they swing straight up and take an inhibitor of their own. So just one single inner turret remaining for Samurai and Jeans right now, being pushed slowly into their base. They need to repel this advance from the Copenhagen Wolves. Dragon going to be up in 30 seconds. Baron will be up in 120. They're all going to be objectives that both teams want to fight for.
And if you look at just how tanky the side of the Wolves are getting right now, a Negatron Cloak plus that Kindle Gem in Sven Skeren's hands. You see another Negatron Cloak, or a Negatron sitting with Godbro. He's got that Radiance completed now. And it's very defensive items across the board, and they do have a lot of damage as well. It's not your traditional burst in that Twisted Fate can blow people up, but Xerath is really the glass cannon build right now.
Xerath was clearing out those waves, and look at the CS now across them. Deficio even up to 31. The support's getting a couple of kills themselves. The CS, 300 CS, it's passed by the Tess, also by Freeze. The Extinct will be there in just a couple of seconds once he clears out that. Bjergsen does pick himself up yet another, and this is the final inner turret going down. He's up to 371 CS as well, so now split push working well, and now we're seeing the chase on here. Here's going to be Bjergsen going in. The stun card goes in towards Youngbuck. Is it going to be enough? Yes, the rupture comes down. Bullet time lands across all of the Copenhagen Wolves, so he gets pulled in. Crescendo on 4 members, and Chain of Corruption follows straight on it. You can see Godbro just running around with that poison, flinging around the opponents. Extinct now with his ultimate off the side there, not going to land the damage. He's trying his best to sunlock. It's going to be Godbro he goes for, though, not the ideal target. You can see Bjergsen wants to land that stun card, doesn't quite get close enough. Rumble is back, he's got those home guard boots. He gets on towards Bjergsen, he's going to have to use the Zhonya's. He actually almost gets out of it and finally gets shut down. It's a 2-for-1 to the Copenhagen Wolves, but it is still a very, very tight fight.
And what a crescendo from Deficio. He locked up 4 of the Samurai and Jeans members, stunned them up. The problem was there wasn't all that much AoE to sit down on top of it, so they couldn't just melt the members of Samurai and Jeans. As Extinct was running backwards, he had such good defensive abilities, landing those Arcano Pulses after those Arcano Pulses, one after the other, and really just shredding the HP bars down. And because of the damage he's putting out, that is why these fights are still so incredibly close.
He's able to stand at the back, and more importantly, Freezer's landed that bullet time. Perfect position every time. And it's just everybody is landing their ultimates at the right time. It's just a case of who's got the most hit points really towards the end of it, who's got the most damage.
It's also in terms of who goes in first. You know, we've seen in the bottom lane fight, the Copenhagen Wolves many minutes ago, they jumped in and they overextended. So Samurai went, thank you very much, we'll win this team fight and we'll take Baron. We've seen that the Wolves, they had to react as soon as that Baron went down. They actually caught Bjergsen on their inhibitor turret, and that was like, okay, let's go. And the Copenhagen Wolves just simply had slightly superior positioning. Right now, Dragon and Baron are up, and with that Oracle's Elixir, the Wolves are clearing vision and starting to set a trap.
Yeah, no vision for Samurai and Jeans anywhere near that Baron, really. And that is why everybody's been a little overly cautious from the Samurai and Jeans. They know they want to get in there, but they don't have vision. They don't really know that it's happening right now. They have got... Oh, they just snuck a ward in the back. Just saw it, and Deficio's going to go straight around and clear it. And that means that Samurai and Jeans are going to have to come back here. They're going to see Bjergsen down that bottom lane. Of course, he can use that Destiny to join the fight, get back straight in there. But the rest of Samurai and Jeans, there's a lot of vision from the Copenhagen Wolves right now across all of that jungle, so they have full vision of where the Samurais are right now.
All of that ward coverage is just going to allow them to make an informed decision, and of course you can see Destiny from Bjergsen. If he decides to use it, that is the time. They've got full vision on their opponents, and they're going to try rush this one down. They do have that Feast as well as Smite from Cho'Gath, but look at the reaction. Expect an equalizer coming down from Youngbuck. This is going to be important.
Teleport coming in, that's going to be Extinct. He's going to maybe try and lock them up, but there's going to be Godbro that picks up. Baron is going to go down. Look at Unlimited, he tried to get in there, but it does look like there's going to be multi-kills coming out here for the Copenhagen Wolves. They've got 2 already. Can they close down any more? Godbro's going to lead the charge, but they're going straight for the inhibitors.
So they're going to run to try and get that top lane inhib. There's a massive creep wave on the bottom lane. Godbro may decide to pick a fight here. He's ghosted up. He's running in.
He's running straight in. He has still got... No, he hasn't used it. He's got the flash available. It's been used already. Extinct turns around, locks him up, but they're caught well away from their base now. And it's Extinct. He's getting flung left, right, center. He gets taken down. Conex is going to be the next target. The Copenhagen Wolves looking like they may well close this one out. They've got super minions on the Nexus. It will be 1-0 for the Copenhagen Wolves here, but it was a hard-fought match for sure. But the inhibitor respawns just to slow them down a brief period.
This has happened to them before against Fnatic, but a very good game. The Wolves, they were in control, but they had to fight very hard to maintain that control. Samurai and Jeans will be looking to bounce back and even up the series.
So there it is, 1-0, and that was a close game like you mentioned. That was around about 40+ minutes as well, and it was a pretty entertaining 40+ minutes, back and forth action, very tight. We saw Samurai and Jeans pushing for an inhibitor of their own at one point, but it suddenly returned straight back in there. And now they have to contemplate the issues. What sort of bans will they go with? Who knows? We're going to go over to Joe Miller and Jason Kaplan to take us through that match.
Thanks a lot, guys. So a strong performance here coming out of the Wolves to win their first game in this best of 5. And Jason, you know, it wasn't the most perfect start for them. You know, the game itself was actually a very difficult fight for the Wolves to come out with a victory.
Yeah, we saw Freeze Unlimited pretty much mark their stamp on that bottom lane, where the Test got pushed out at level 1, was forced to go back bot, had to go buy health pots, and that was just them from being aggressive, getting that early level 2, and it really kept the Test behind, which you saw throughout the entire game. He was behind 30-40 CS for the the entirety of the game, but it didn't matter. I mean, all I have to say is Bjergsen and Godbro, they made up for that CS difference.
Yeah, and Godbro, again, we've talked about him quite a lot recently because it's only recently that he's really come into his own. I mean, even when Bjergsen first came into the team, we still weren't 100% convinced with Godbro. But, the last, I'd say, 4 weeks of the season, plus, playoffs and obviously this first game as well, he's looked like such an incredible player. He's Singed again. We've seen him play Singed before, of course, in the regular season of LCS. Even drew quite a few bans for it, after those weeks where he'd done really well with it.
Right, and also his Shen, and we saw him land like multiple 3-4% taunts that actually ended up turning the game for them. But, he did quite well this game. He got first blood at top lane, but it didn't matter. I mean, he did it at many different games where he still just farmed away, kept pushing the turret, and he does what every Sin should do. He drew more than one person to really stop him from doing that, and he accomplished his job.
So let's have a look at our replay for this one. It's about 10-12 minutes, I think, before the ending of the game, and it was one of those big fights in the middle lane.
Yeah, it was after we saw Samurai and Jeans actually get Baron, and they were going for a push on the middle turret. And I'm gonna title this replay for you guys. It's actually called Home Guard OP. And I'm gonna show you why. It's a little lame, yeah, but I'm gonna show you why exactly. So it's 9-5. It's 55.7 thousand gold to 48.9, but the gold really didn't matter at this point since Samurai and Jeans were still pushing with that Baron buff. Let's get the replay on your screen and just show you why I gave it that title, that really nerdy, corny title. So this is right after they got a lot of harass on his Svenskeren. He had to go back a buy as well as Bjergsen. So they're gonna come in from base here with Home Guard boots, and that, well, not Bjergsen, sorry, just Svenskeren, but they're gonna come in with Home Guard boots, and that's why it's gonna be really crazy. Is that you're gonna see him come in here, about right here where my pointer is, and he's actually going to stop a Nautilus pull on him that was meant for Deficio. Because you saw Bjergsen gets locked down by the pull of Unlimited, and they try to go for him. They try to burst him down instantly, but Svenskeren just runs in there like Superman and catches this this dredge line out of Nautilus. I mean, it was heading towards Deficio anyways, which, in the end, it wouldn't have been bad for him because he could have landed the crescendo, but what it did for Xerath was like the end goal of it. It forced Xerath to use all of his ultimate charges onto Deficio instead of anyone else in the team. And they do pick him off, but it doesn't matter. Like, they stopped Extinct from hitting anyone else, so they end up picking up the kill on the Continex, and they end up chasing them down. And I believe they got four for one trade because Deficio did die. But like the Home Guard boots, we saw it in the previous best of 5, just how strong they can be when you're defending your own base. Just zooming in there, catching that dredge line. The fight could have honestly gone really differently if Deficio did get caught and Extinct wasn't forced to use every single charge to get him down.
And moving on from that, there was another fight, this time a little bit further on, up that middle lane, just outside the inhibitor, where we saw a fantastic crescendo out of Deficio.
Yes, that was just ridiculous. I mean, it was with the Lantern, too. They pulled Youngbuck back in. Actually, no, Youngbuck, pulled him back in, sorry. And then he got a 4-person crescendo while Extinct was back in the base. That was just spot on. And that's what we say with Sona. Like, if you can land crescendos like that, you can win games easily. And the whole teamwork of Deficio, the Tess, and Bjergsen, well, I just give it to all of them. The whole teamwork through the entire team was just ridiculous because you saw, Bjergsen just bait in so many fights and then Svenskeren following it up and then just everyone else coming in. It was spot on. And that's the Wolves that we knew within the past 6 weeks when Bjergsen came into the team. This is like the consistent Wolves that we were talking about.
So we saw them just before they actually went on to win the game there. That Baron pickup, which was that was super safe.
Ooh. We actually saw Svenskeren. He missed his feast on it. Well, he feasted, but he did too early. Missed his smite. And what picked it up was Godbro's poison. That was close.
Not the safest way to secure a Baron,
no.
But as a Singed player, the best way to secure a Baron. But yeah, congratulations to the Wolves. Of course, they go 1-0 up in our series. It is a best of 5, though, so they need 2 more wins out of the remaining 4 games to secure their position in the LCS Summer Split. We're going to go to a quick break, but when we come back, it will be game number 2 of the Wolves taking on the Samurai and Jeans.